Oui?
Oui.
Oui, mais oui. Alors, all right, everyone. This is episode 14 of the Lingaholics podcast. It's been 10 straight days of the Polyglot Conference. Quite a marathon, if you ask me, and a fun one at that. And uh, lots of presentations, lots of talks. I kind of missed out on the socializing aspect this year, but that's no problem today because we're going to be socializing about the conference. So I'm here, not in Alberta right now. I'm in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. My boy Lee from episode 8, he was in town. So I had to drive out and see him, catch up with him. And I'm staying in a hotel like a couple blocks from where I used to live in Saskatoon. So it's a little bit of memory lane this weekend. And our guest actually, memory lane of the previous Polyglot event that we all partook in, the Polyglot Gathering. But we're going to be here today talking about the Polyglot Conference. So let's see here. I think I went Cody last time. Let's go Marcus.
Well, I mean, like, I don't really have a lot of updates here in Barcelona.
No?
It's yeah. I mean, like, okay. So here's the thing. I've had a lot to do with my science career recently, so I've been busy writing mostly.
Okay.
So when I'm in the lab and I'm doing my work, it's very easy for me to put on a podcast in Spanish or in Catalan or lo que sea. But when I'm writing, I need to think, and I need to think in English. So I've been spending a lot of time in front of my computer doing a lot of typing. So not as much language practicing as the week before, but still pretty good. Still pretty good. I had I had my italki class in Castellano yesterday with my tío Gonza in Madrid.
Gonza.
So shout out if he's tuning into the pod.
Gonza. Yeah.
But I had no idea you were in Barcelona.
Sí, estoy en Barcelona.
Right.
So I mean, that's all I got to say right now. So I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to throw it over to Cody real quick, and then Ian, I'll let you introduce our guest. All right?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll keep mine pretty short too. It's a balmy, comfortable minus 15 degrees in Alberta right now.
Saski's maybe a degree or two better.
Oh yeah. So winter has arrived early this year, but whatever, that's all right. We're all inside studying languages, so it's all good. This week I had a renewed wave of motivation. I did a bit of restructuring with my language routine, and I had a lot of fun watching the talks at the Polyglot Conference. So I'm buzzing right now. So that's my update.
Kodo's buzzing. Awesome. Oh, sounds good, boys. All right. So I mentioned Polyglot Gathering. So that was the one that took place at the end of May and the start of June. It's originally supposed to happen in Poland, but COVID 2020, everyone knows the story. It went online, and during that weekend, it was kind of a craze of a weekend because it was 3 days long, that particular gathering, and it was live too. So me and Marcus were getting up at like 2 a.m. What is that? UTC minus 2 and
UTC minus. Yeah, UTC minus.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Can I just jump in here real quick? Because it's kind of important. So we just had daylight savings, the transition from.
Oh, are you doing it this weekend?
Yeah, 2 daylight savings. We just had it. So right now I'm in UTC minus 1. So I went from UTC plus minus 2 to minus 1. So there's only a 7-hour difference. Now the interesting thing is that we scheduled the pod to be at 6 p.m. Central European time. Right? So that's in an hour from now. That's in an hour from now. It's 5 o'clock here right now.
Right, okay.
And I barely noticed this. So like I was having lunch or brunch or whatever. And I looked at my watch, and then I looked at my phone because the phone just automatically converts, right?
Yeah,
and I saw that something's not right. Like, what happened to I thought something was wrong with my watch, right? And then I did some Googling, and then I realized, oh, wait, we had daylight savings.
I got to interrupt here. You're UTC plus 2.
Oh, sorry, exactly.
We're UTC minus 6.
I went from UTC plus 2 to UTC plus 1. All right, sorry.
You didn't miss the pod. You didn't miss the pod.
I screwed up the
disinformation. So we attended the talks. We got up super early, but the funnest part I'm going to say about that weekend was when we hung out in some of the chat rooms were like really chaotic. during the Polyglot Gathering. So we kind of started our own Zoom hangouts. And Esther, you came and joined us.
Yeah.
And I think I saw maybe in the chats. Remember, what's that app? We were all on Telegram. I think I saw some of your chats on Telegram, and then we met you at the Polyglot Gathering, and it was awesome. I remember being up late, speaking Spanish, French. So welcome to our show. Here we got our long introduction.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how are you doing? What's new?
Good. I didn't, to be honest, really look at many Polyglot Conference things global this year.
Global. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, I had all my midterms this week, so
yeah.
Oh, damn.
It was just the wrong week, but
that's fine. That's fine. I only really scrutinized like 3 or 4 myself, so not a big deal.
Fun.
Also, like it wasn't live, so there wasn't like that commitment to like go to the live events.
Yeah, I felt a bit of that too. It not being live, so it just did seem more casual.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I would like in the mornings before work, I'd watch a vid. Maybe when I got back, a couple here and there. But I think there was pros and cons because I don't feel like it had quite that live energy that the Polyglot Gathering did, where we were like kind of in a frenzy.
I thought 4 a.m. was really early for me, but 2 a.m. that's another level of
crazy. Yeah. So guys, before we dive into the Polyglot Conference, Esther, can you just introduce yourself real quick? Tell us where you're from, where you're at right now, and what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really know how to start, but I currently live in Quebec, so I guess I can kind of come from Quebec. I was born in Switzerland originally, in Geneva, but I've lived in several countries,
including
several parts of Canada. I grew up in BC mostly. I lived in France, in Germany, in Italy. I think that's it.
So how does that translate into your language speaking abilities?
Well, I don't think I really have abilities in languages. I just think that I have abilities with people and I like people. So it's really just like a medium to access more people.
Right. So in what languages can you communicate with people?
So English, French, obviously, and then Italian, Spanish, I lived in Portugal. I speak a bit of Polish. I'm learning Czech right now. A bit of Norwegian, a bit of Danish.
Right. So you probably be
all over the place.
You probably beat all of our asses when it comes to languages.
Nah, I don't think so. But also like it's just to speak to people. So like even if I know like 2 words, I'm like grab a beer or whatever and like
you're gonna
say it. Yeah.
That's the Marcus approach.
So wait, this actually transitions really well into a polyglot talk that I just watched like an hour ago. I don't know if you guys watched this one, like with in the conference, obviously, but the language matrix. It was only 4 minutes long.
Yeah, it was a really short one.
Super short one, but he had a really good quote that kind of plays into what Esther just said. Okay. So this is the quote: "We shouldn't learn a language to speak it. We should speak it to learn it."
Speak it to learn it.
Yeah,
that's good, right?
Okay.
Where is he from? The speaker?
Tony Marsh. He had a I don't remember, British accent. He was Anglo-Saxon for sure.
White?
I just remember.
I don't know. He didn't show his face.
Didn't have. I remember because he talked about how like the verb was like the main building block of your languages. Like you start with the verb and then like connect it on.
He had you start with a conjugated verb and then you have the infinitive form of the verb and then you have your noun or your adverb or lo que sea.
Right. So, okay. So that's what you're learning. Is Czech your main one right now, or are all of these like equally dabbled?
Kind of like the only like I only learn if I'm surrounded by people who are learning those languages or like speak those languages natively. And like right now, there's no one around me who's learning Czech. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you learn Czech then?
Yeah,
I was just learning with Asimil. Because so I had a neighbor who lived here 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
She moved 2 weeks ago. And yeah, during quarantine we learned because we were neighbors. So it was just an easy.
So how do you go about learning languages? You just you use the Michel Thomas method of just talking to people, or do you study, or?
Pretty much. I really hate studying and I'm really lazy. So like I just, if I can communicate, then I won't be lazy about it.
Okay. You said you use Asimil? Is that
yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, what's that? Could you explain? I'm not familiar with what that is.
Okay. It's like this French method. I think they made it in like the 20th century. I'm not sure. It's pretty old. And you pretty much just repeat text. It's kind of like Glosica. I don't know if you know it.
I don't know what that is.
What's that one?
It's also just like sentences, like the same sentences you repeat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they do it in a way that's like you learn new words every time, but you're not necessarily conscious that you're learning because they just do it in a.
That's like Pimsleur.
Pimsleur, Michel Thomas. That's like pretty similar.
Yeah.
I normally like don't go towards apps. They just seem like a lot of product, like selling a lot of stuff, but you don't actually get all that much.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah. It depends. It's kind of controversial. Like Duolingo is kind of controversial.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like it myself, but right now I'm learning Catalan. I'm studying Catalan, and there's not a lot of material when it comes to Catalan because it's a smaller language. So I've been using the Duolingo app because they have a good Catalan course.
I would say just
helpful.
I would say just like go up to like old people and speak.
Well, that's sort of what I do. Because here, if you have a tourist, if you have a guy like me that just comes up and talks to them in Catalan because they're so used for tourists or people from outside of Catalonia to speak to them in Castellano, in Spanish. So when I come up and speak to them in Catalan, they're super excited.
Yeah, you go like you don't go and say like hi. You like I don't know. I always like I don't know, ask if this is the bus that goes to that place or whatever. So they feel like they're helping you with something, but they're just actually helping you with the language.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Was that from this? No, that was from a podcast, but it was basically, it was from a podcast that I was listening to in Spanish. So this teacher in the United States who's from Mexico, but he teaches Americans how to speak Spanish. An assignment that he has is to basically call a hotel in Cancun and ask about the amenities at the hotel in Spanish.
That's the task. That's the task he has to do.
Yeah, that's like a class.
Okay.
That's really cool, and that's cool? Really useful. Yeah.
So like Esther, I have a question for you. So you said you're very similar to Marcus, like how he learns languages, like you just communicate with people and you grab a beer. But do you do any kind of like formal study? Because for me personally, mine is like a little bit half and half. Like half the time, like I'm talking to people, and half the time I'm doing like formal studying with books and like stuff like that. So do you do anything like that?
Well, first off, respect. Like I wish I had that motivation. But I do in the sense that like I don't study it in itself, but I do it as sort of like if I'm procrastinating studying for an exam or something, like that's the only way it'll be productive. But I'm never gonna like study grammar to study grammar. It's always just gonna be like an excuse, or like it's an excuse to talk to this person, where it's like it's never gonna be something in itself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I'm a little bit jealous of the method that you guys use because like I don't do that enough. Like I don't communicate with people enough. That's something that I should work on because like sometimes I focus too much on just like purely studying, And sometimes I get a little bit bored. That's why I often need a lot of motivation. So I think I need to include a lot more like communication with other people.
Just do like really stressful things in your day-to-day life, and then you won't have time to do anything. So you'll like be procrastinating all the time, and then you'll just do it.
Solution. That's a solution.
Yeah. Not all that sustainable, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been listening to, so I don't completely disavow the studying and the grammar and stuff like that. I've been listening to these. I sent you guys the link to the podcast, but a Spanish grammar podcast.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually pretty good.
Are you doing that like daily? Are you listening to that?
Yeah, I do that daily. I listen to a couple of grammar podcasts every day, and I've actually improved especially I'm working hard on my subjuntivo right now in Spanish, like really hard, because I feel like it's such an important part of the language. And the same thing in all these Romance languages, they use the subjuntive, but in Catalan as well, all the time. The Catalan's even worse.
Yeah.
I don't really know in French if you use the conjunctive that much.
yeah.
You do, right?
Yeah, you use
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's
But
not,
don't you feel that like just by speaking it, it's better to speak it and understand it while speaking, and then you're able to understand the grammar?
Yes, that too. That's very important. But I completely agree that just sitting and reading the rules is completely useless, especially with a conjunctive.
Yeah.
It's completely useless. Like you have
Yeah,
conjunct. What's it called?
Subjunctive.
Subjunctive in French? Subjuntivo in Spanish?
Subjuntivo.
Claro que sí.
Yes, el subjunctive. El subjuntivo.
Yeah.
I just, because in German it's called conjunctive.
Yeah, I think
Right?
Italian too. It's like congiuntivo.
Conjunctive.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, basically.
But like it's the same thing in German. Like so many German people you speak to, they don't know the grammar rules, and they just speak without knowing the grammar rules. And then you learn the grammar rules for years, and then you can't speak and you don't use the right, because you're always thinking about the different structures and whatever, but the different rules, and then you can't actually speak. So
Yeah.
But even English has a subjunctive too.
Yeah, but it's not used that much. It's only
I'm just looking up the quote here I saw on Twitter. This Elise de Vega, is her name?
in English, you only use it for the hypotheticals. Like if I were you.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, here's the quote. It says, I use the subjunctive in English all the time, and I don't even realize it. I'm doing subtitles for a new video, and it said, so whether it be pitch accent, so even that whether it be part is subjunctive in English, which, yeah, I don't even understand that. I don't even think I could explain that.
Another example would be, may the force be with you.
yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
No, but like English is another case. It just has so many like influences from other languages that aren't related. So we don't like.
Yeah.
Grammar for English is just useless.
Yeah, exactly. Like compared to German, because in German, if the rules are actually the rules, so if you follow the rules, you'll speak correctly. But in English, there's exceptions all the time, right?
I was teaching to Chinese students, and it's really interesting because they learn the grammar for years, and then like I was teaching this 19-year-old kid who she learned for years, and like she could read perfectly, and she could read like academic level English, but I'd say like, how are you? And she didn't know how to answer.
That's super common for Chinese students.
Yeah. So I've heard, but like it's a lot.
Where do you teach?
It's this online thing with a Chinese company.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
What's
it's
it
like
called?
It's Can Study. It's like this private from like friends to friend thing that I found.
Okay.
It's like a Chinese italki.
Kind of, yeah.
Italki is Chinese.
Oh, it is?
Oh yeah, it is too.
It's based in Shanghai, yeah.
Because you guys watch the italki video in the conference for the owner.
What are you talking about?
The owner or the founder, when he shows you around the offices. Because that's in China, right?
That's in Shanghai, yeah.
Okay.
I did not.
Oh, italki started in China?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Ian, you're saying that he was going around all the office and everything. And it's funny because like they just took this video and they're able to do that because China doesn't have like any COVID cases right now. So they're all back at work and like nobody's wearing a mask or anything like that. So it's kind of funny to see that.
Well, yeah, because remember Nick was saying on the episode two
Yeah.
episodes ago how like it's kind of like normal life again.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, man, I didn't know too. I thought it was American or no, actually Europe. I figured it'd be from Europe, like most of these polyglots are. But yeah, like I think they've grown a lot though over like because I joined it 2012, and I think they've really expanded.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think especially since COVID, they've just blown up. Hey.
Perhaps, man. Yeah. Like because it's just always been a thing for me like the last 8 years, but I think so even more.
I've been talking about this with my italki teachers, and yes, they said their incomes have gone up significantly ever since COVID went up or COVID came.
Yeah.
Like the amount of classes and the demand has skyrocketed.
I've never tried italki. I like everyone talks about it, but
take a class with me.
Yeah.
What classes
Cody.
do you teach?
Well, how good is your German?
It's pretty good.
Okay, let's forget about that.
Esther, do you speak Swiss German?
Class with me?
No. I lived in Berlin. Like I don't
speak
Swiss German.
Okay.
I mean, I will one day speak Swiss German, but not yet.
Just curious.
Schweizerdeutsch.
So it's so beautiful.
It's so funny. I can't understand a word.
Is it that different?
It's so different.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's like whenever I hear a Swiss person, like my German is also really good, and I'm the same thing. I like find it really to understand Swiss people.
Okay. What about like dialects within Germany? Because I just found out the teacher exchange program that I want to do is in Hessen, and but each region of Germany's got like its own
dialect.
I know there's Hochdeutsch, right? But
okay, so can I speak out of this from personal? Not only with Germany,
please explain to me because I'm trying to learn about the context. Yeah.
So my experience has been like no matter where you go in the world, like if they say, oh, like the dialect here is so different, like you can't understand what people are saying, like you have contact with that because all the young people speak the standard version of the language, right? So like for example, when I was in Germany, I never heard the Hessen dialect.
Okay, right.
And when I was in China, the only time I ever heard like the local dialect was when I was like talking to old people or something like that. Like,
right.
When you're talking to most people on a daily basis, like you're just using the standard version of the language.
So Cody, you obviously haven't been to München and Bayern.
I have been to München.
They have a Servus. They have a very unique accent there, especially the old people.
Well, yeah, but like it depends. It depends where you go, right? Like sometimes you will have that difference that's pretty strong, but most of the time, like people know the standard language. Like everywhere you go in Germany, they're gonna know High German.
Yeah.
Do you really want to speak standard German? Like, isn't your objective to like?
Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean, the starting point, I agree with Cody, like the Hochdeutsch, but then it's like, once you know like a particular locality, a particular place, well, then, yeah, like I don't even know how one would go about getting the resources to, I mean, I could start watching like the videos of the place, but yeah, I mean, it would be fun eventually, but I feel like that's still like, that's an advanced stage to be like, okay, I got like standard Hochdeutsch, but now I got like,
but I feel like it'd be harder to like start speaking High German and then have like in that same community go to dialect. Like not going to be able to make like everyone's going to see you as the like foreign High German speaker,
yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's like Spanish right now. Like Marcus, you're doing like
Castellano,
yeah, not español, castellano.
Cerveza para todos.
Yeah, right. Like, Because that kind of ties into that variety of Spanish talk where like Caribbean Spanish is like the vocab, the accent, like there's not a ton of resources to learn that particular Spanish. So one would have to like be more inventive in their resources that they're using and a little more creative kind of thing. But yeah, like to speak the particular way of the locals, I think like all these languages have their standard versions, but then the branches off is like when you get like all the flavors of it, I guess.
Well, speaking of Spanish, different types of Spanish, my favorite presentation during the Polyglot Conference was the ¿Por qué deberías aprender español mexicano?
Great talk.
with Nayeli Mulato. And that was gold. That was linguistic gold. That was a gold mine for me.
Apapáchame.
Voy a hacer talacha, güey.
So
many. Marcus, do you speak Spanish like from Spain, or what's your?
I can speak any Spanish you want me to speak. Name a country.
Mexico, Spain.
But like right now in Barcelona, do they like think you're Spanish?
No, they don't. Because so here's the thing. I'm deaf. I learned to speak Spanish in Latin America. So when I came here, I obviously used the Spanish that I learned from over there. But I've been intentionally working hard at trying to acquire the European Spanish accent, so the acento castellano. I'm working hard on that, and it's something that I'm very serious about. But I love accents, and I love different regionalisms, dichos.
Yeah,
Carga. I love it. So yeah, I'm doing that. So hopefully when I go back to Canada in January, I'll be able to be a tío español.
The two hats.
Yeah, the two hats.
Yeah, no, that was a great talk though. Like that, did you see all the phrases for death that they have? Like,
ya colgó los tenis, güey.
Yeah.
Ya se peló.
Right.
The weird one was ya chupó faros.
Faros.
Chupó faros. That's a lighthouse, right? A faro?
Yeah.
Or am I getting that wrong?
No.
So he has already sucked lighthouses. I'm probably getting that wrong. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I'll have to ask.
Yeah, not sure about that.
Alejandro.
Yeah.
Ya chupó faros. It has to mean something else. It can't be.
So Alejandro is your Mexican source?
Alejandro is our Mexican
authority.
Mexican authority.
Yeah, he's our source. He's our informant.
Yeah.
Do y'all have like, do y'all share the sources?
What do you mean?
Like you have people from countries that you know.
Somewhat.
It depends. I would say in Calgary they're all mutual, but we've all got people from around the world that are not mutual.
Yeah. I was trying to find. I really liked because the conference was supposed to be in Mexico this year, right? In Cholula. So
yeah,
that was what was awesome. Is like there's so many of the videos I haven't watched yet. Like the little displays of Mexico. Like there's even the video about how to make like guacamole and.
Well, I only really watched the one I just told you guys about.
Yeah. So.
Did you see any of the indigenous ones, like the Nahuatl and?
Yeah.
So I watched a little bit of the one from El Salvador.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the longer one, eh? Like the 55 minutes.
Yeah.
And because that's interesting because how the Nahuatl, that was the Aztecs language, how that did go all the way down to El Salvador, but then he was talking like specifically about the El Salvadorian dialects of Nahuatl, and I think the one Anya speaker, her name, like she runs the Zaola languages, and her big thing before like Cholula got changed was like she was trying to get people to learn some Nahuatl before coming down to Mexico. So I think that's like her goal for next year. If it's safe to go there, there's people learning. Now what? So
That's cool. I'd be down.
yeah.
But actually, I now I want to talk about the little bit of the dabbling bug that I got.
Yeah, it's Kodo.
Yeah, so there were various like taster lessons that came
Tasters.
from Michel Thomas.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of them for like different languages. And I watched the ones for Arabic and Japanese. And man, it was so much fun. Just sitting there and like just listening to them talk about like just saying basic stuff in these languages. And I was just absorbing it, just enjoying it. It was nice. I liked it.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you speak a bit of Arabic?
No,
Or-
I know now. I know Ehlen, Enne, Cody.
Enna. No. Enna.
Enne.
Enna. Enna.
I
Enna,
am
Marcus.
Anna.
Anna.
Enne is
Anna.
I'm.
No, it's an A at the end. Anna.
What's Enne?
Depends the accent. You can say it.
Yeah.
Oh, but
okay.
that's what they said. That's Egyptian Arabic. Anna,
Yeah.
Marcus.
Yeah, we gotta ask Abdo.
Yeah, we got our buddy Abdo, but they made that point too in that because I watched the Arabic one too, and how and Abdo's always made this case to us, our Egyptian buddy who will come on the pod one day. We know we'll force him. That's
100%.
But yeah, he's always advocating learning Egyptian Arabic, right? Because that's what's mostly that's kind of like the Hollywood Arab, like most other Arabic countries consume movies and entertainment and media from Egypt. So he's always
They mentioned that in the
video. Which that's the case for like Egyptian Arabic specifically.
Mhm.
But have you guys ever done a full Michel Thomas course?
No.
Back in the day, like I was obsessed. Like we're talking like 5-6 years ago. Like I thought it was the greatest method ever at the time.
Why don't you think that now?
It still is great. I think it's a great starter. Like
it's a starter, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I did for Korean when we were prepping for the Korean War. I feel like it ingrains certain basic structures in your head. If that makes sense. And it's not that I don't think it's a bad method. I just kind of moved on because I've kind of, over the 10 years, I've kind of gone with trends and fads and just moved away from it. But in terms of starting a language, like I had a friend recently who wants to learn Spanish asked me like, what should I start with? And Michel Thomas is always one of my first recommendations because I find it's one of those ones that's like kind of meditative. You just kind of go for a walk and then they say the phrase and then you say it back and it kind of builds. Like it's interesting. And there's some really fascinating old YouTube videos where Michel Thomas himself is like sitting in a room with like 4 students who have no French at all. And he kind of leads them through the process and how much they acquire in such a short time. I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's like the best vocab course, but in terms of like building those basic structures, which you can use later on. Yeah, I think it's quite the method that way.
You have to be really patient though.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not like the flashcardy type thing, which I personally like. Like I just love like review. It's very,
I like that too.
It's just very like, okay, the phrase and it builds and it really gets you to focus, right? But then like how they preface all their talks, like you're not supposed to memorize anything, you're just gonna absorb it. So
I really like the like what they emphasize is like how you need to be just relaxed and chill during the lesson because not only just during that course, but like when you're learning anything, it's so much harder to learn when you've got other crap on your mind and you're like stressed out about something. So I really like how they emphasize that.
Yeah, I can see how it's good if you're starting, but if you're an intermediate, obviously there's other material if you're an intermediate.
Yeah, great beginner method.
But I enjoy. Yeah, keep going.
No, I mean I need constant like stimulation. So Michel Thomas like cannot do.
Not for you. So Esther,
even for beginning,
Esther, what talks did you watch?
I really didn't watch many. I just watched a bit of the Nahuatl one, and I watched also the beginning of ¿Por qué deberías aprender mexicano?
Okay. And what do you think of that one?
It was intense.
It was intense, right?
Yeah. I just watched the beginning. So
okay. And what about the Nahuatl? Nahuatl?
I mean, I think it's always good to speak about indigenous languages, and like this is something we really have to do in Canada. But I think I was making a lot of conversations really awkward because I was asking, like, I always go into Spanish conversations and just like talk politics and whatever. So everyone's always really uncomfortable.
Stimulating. Yeah, that's okay.
Well,
So
I mean, people should be aware of their privileges. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah. So what about learning these indigenous languages? Because I know, Ian, you've been talking about, or maybe you too, Cody. I don't know. You guys have been talking about.
Yeah, Cody's talked about this too.
Yeah.
Learning indigenous languages, various. Which ones would you guys be interested in?
You go first,
Esther.
Cody.
Esther, you too.
Or Esther.
What are the indigenous languages in Quebec?
There's a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah.
I started a bit Inuktitut.
Yeah.
But I got like kicked out from the class because it was a class given at my university, and I just like attended the classes, but I wasn't paying the class, so they just like kicked me out. But I would have continued. And then there's this other indigenous language in BC called Slavi that I'm really interested in. There's only like 5,000 speakers.
That's northern BC, right?
Yeah. But I met a guy that like a few years ago who spoke Slavi, and I was like, oh, I'll do that. You're learning that? I'll do that. So yeah. Nice. What about you guys?
Kodo, you
Cody?
go.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I think if I were to learn any Canadian indigenous languages, it would be Blackfoot and Stoney, which are they're kind of like the biggest indigenous languages around Calgary, or possibly Cree too, because that's across Canada, especially prairies. Like Cree is huge,
and it's got its dialects too,
like
Plains Cree, Woods Cree. On a personal level, like my grandpa, who I never met, like he was a francophone out in Saskatchewan, and he sold fish on Sundays, and part of them was selling it to the First Nations around North Battleford. So my grandpa, who I never met, did speak some Cree. So like kind of like learning Ukrainian, I wanted to do that for family reasons.
Yeah, because you're Métis, right?
Yeah, like in the past, yeah. So technically Métis, which like I'm fascinated with do you guys? There's a language called Michif, which is it's really unique. It's a hybrid of French. Oh, I always mix it up. Okay, French verbs and Cree nouns is the makeup of the language. So not only was there like a Métis people, but like the language itself is like 50-50 of French and Cree, which is I find fascinating. So a reason I'd want to learn Cree is then to go look at Michif. And there's some great apps actually for Michif. One's got like 12,000 words with all the audio, which is pretty spectacular. So yeah, so Cree, it's always a resource struggle. Actually, there is quite a bit of resources for Cree, but I find I'm such an audio first guy that like if just reading a Cree word, like I'll just butcher the pronunciation. I need that audio, right? So the Cree's actually a lot of resources. Blackfoot, you said, Cody.
Yeah.
So like Siksika, so the school I teach at has a bit of a population of Siksika students, and there's actually an old residential school that got converted into a college now. It's called Old Sun College. It's about half hour from Strathmore in the Siksika Reserve, and they have Siksika courses there. And I'm always checking the website to see if they go online sometime. So yeah, Cree, Blackfoot, and then another one, Ojibwe, which actually has a Pimsleur course out. I think.
Oh, really?
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. There's Ojibwe, and there's a great author. I recommend everyone check him out. Anton Toyer is his name. Lives out in Minnesota. Ojibwe academic out there, and he's written books and He just wrote a book called The Language Warriors Manifesto, which was all about the experience, which is an intense name, but great. He has YouTube talks. I've been following him for quite a while, but that's his newest book. And so I think those three I'd like to.
And are those interrelated?
Ojibwe and Cree, yes. That's part of the Algonquin family. Siksika, like Blackfoot, I believe that's... Well, remember when we went to Writing on Stone? It's like the national park. Yeah, so remember the tour guide that came up to us?
Mm-hmm.
He was...
You remember his name? I don't, but I remember it was cool.
I feel bad.
It was cool as
hell.
hell.
It was a Blackfoot name because then he like told us the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And, we were in the heart of Blackfoot territory.
Okay, I got kind of a philosophical question for you guys.
Sure.
Okay, so do you think polyglots have a moral obligation to learn endangered or indigenous languages?
Catalán, tío. Parlo catalán. Pero desposat.
Yeah, of course, 100%. But Catalan is not.
Yeah, Catalan doesn't count, man.
Catalan was illegal to speak here during the Franquista.
It's persecutions.
Yeah. You could go to jail for speaking Catalan or Gallego. I would love to learn Gallego, or not Gallego. Basque.
Yeah.
Caixo.
It was Euskara.
How do you say it? Euskara?
Euskara. Yeah. I might be screwing up the pronunciation, but it's Euskara. I watched the introduction to Basque Talk, though.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes, because it's cool. Because I was just up and I rented a car like a month ago, and I drove up to Bilbao and not Zaragoza, Zarauz, which is like a little surfing town next to San Sebastian. And it was cool because I was just walking around like with my phone with my translating app out and like translating all the signs.
Oh yeah.
And it's cool because it's pre-Romantic.
It's an isolate, man.
It's an isolate, so it's not like any other language.
It's not even like Indo-European.
It's not even. It might be Indo-European. I think it's the oldest Indo-European.
It's
pre-Romantic.
I don't think it's Indo-European.
Yeah, man, it's an island.
Okay, maybe
it's like puzzled linguists for years.
Maybe it's not Indo-European, but it's definitely unique. It's isolated. So that would be sick to learn. It would be hard as hell. But it'd be sick. Gallego is just like Portuguese.
Yeah, Gallego, Catalan, like that's easy. You have Spanish, that's easy. Like, do you guys speak Portuguese?
Falo um pouco.
Oh, you don't.
Sim. Eu falo.
No, I don't. I did the first Pimsleur class, but I'd love to learn it one day.
I don't know what Pimsleur is.
It's like the Michel Thomas. It's kind of the same concept. It's like for beginners, and you're just repeating words and getting sentences and basic phrases. Yeah. It's pretty good for a beginner. It's a great dabbling resource. Great.
Yeah.
Do you have to be patient?
Yes.
Yes.
You
do. But I love going for long walks. And
it's one of
listening to podcasts. Yeah, and when I work as well, because I do a lot of monotonous work, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. And that's one of them.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like feminist podcasts in the language that I'm learning.
Like that's always the thing. Like finding, it's not even like so much the language focus. It's like what's interesting, engaging, stimulating, and then just using that. Like I love history, so there's that one, Marcus, I think it's sent it to the chat, like La Casa de Historia.
Oh, that was funny.
Diana Uribe. And
that was really funny.
It's like learn about history through Spanish, right?
Yeah, I think it's like that's really important to like utilize your interests with. Like for me, it's like the biggest thing for me is like watching movies, and because I love movies and TV shows, I'm always soaking that stuff up.
But okay, Cody, did we fully answer your question though about indigenous languages? Because
I don't think so.
I feel like I'm unsatisfied with.
I want to know more about your response.
So, like, Cody, you mean like so the polyglot has like a particular skill set. So, should they be like morally obliged, or is that the right way of putting it? Like, should they use that then to help bring awareness, help revitalization is what they talk a lot about. these. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm just solely interested. Like I told you, like I have a personal interest in it, but then like, yeah, in Canada we have like 80 some indigenous languages, but I don't know how many have like resources that you can actually, like, I think the resources is where they'd need the most support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure there's not enough resources, but like it's also the symbolic that you're like just talking about learning indigenous languages and like making it like so more resources are produced and like just like putting like, I don't know, making petitions or something that like there be indigenous languages that be taught in schools. Like that it's just, we just need to make it a subject. That's why there's no
like
resources.
maybe like for example, like something that could come to fruition in the future is like there could be a campaign to like for example here in Calgary, like in the public school system, like for in terms of like kids learning languages, there could be like French and then Spanish and then also like Blackfoot or Stony or something like that.
Yeah, I think it would be sick. And the quote that's been thrown around, like, just because it's a language, it doesn't matter how many people speak it. Yeah. If there's one person that speaks one language, it's still a language. Just like English, it's still a language. And it's to me, it's very sad to think about the fact that there have been languages that have gone extinct. That's a very sad thought to me. Like, imagine how cool, what an amazing thing a language is, if you really think about it. It's a way of communicating. It's what makes it's what's made human beings successful, right? Yeah. Being able to communicate, and it's very sad to me that languages have gone extinct because they're really,
and like some of like huge political reasons, like xenophobia.
Well, just conceptually. The fact that there's been this system of communicating that probably might have been completely different from the languages that we speak, and the fact that that's gone extinct is very sad. So it's like someone dying. It's like a person with their entire personal history being wiped off the face of the earth. It's kind of the same thing.
So what do you think politically about reviving languages like Hebrew in so-called Israel and like right now I'm learning spoken Latin, spoken ancient Greek. Like what do you think about reviving so-called dead languages?
So I actually have a really interesting comment here. So I watched the Old Norse talk by Todd B. Krause. He's a professor at UTexas. And I obviously watched because I'm Swedish. That's my heritage, right? So anything Norse is very interesting to me. So I watched it, and this guy was also a gold mine when it comes to language information. So obviously, or you guys know that the Vikings took over the British Isles before, and they from that they influenced Old English a lot, right? So Old Norse and Old English are directly interrelated through the Vikings, essentially. Their imperialism.
Right.
So the interesting thing is because they're connected to the same language tree, the Germanic language tree, which is a part of the greater Indo-European language tree. But the thing is, there's no Proto-Germanic language, right? So like in between Indo-European and these Germanic languages, there's not one consolidating language. There's not one father language like Latin, right? Because Latin, you can look up Latin. Like you can find people that
it's the father language.
You can find people that are fluent in Latin, but you can't find people that are fluent in Proto-Germanic, right? Like there's no literature that exists.
Old Norse is not Proto-Germanic?
It is Proto-Germanic. It's a part of it. It's a derivative.
Okay.
So Old Norse and Old English are derivatives of Proto-Germanic, right? And Proto-Germanic is the equivalent of Latin on the Germanic side of the Indo-European language tree.
Okay.
But there's no literature, there's no documentation, there's no nothing when it comes to Proto-Germanic. Now, the cool thing is that you can take Old Norse and Old English, and you can look at the different linguistic patterns.
Right. I was just gonna
The
ask
system
about-
is a pattern, and you can reverse engineer. You can reconstruct Proto-Germanic.
Yes.
Like
Right.
you can create it how it was theoretically once upon a time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. So they've done this. These professors, these academics, they do this in
Linguists
academia. The linguists, they've reconstructed Proto-Germanic, which is a theoretical language that they would have spoken thousands and thousands of years ago in Europe, in Northern Europe.
That's so cool.
Later divided into Old Norse and Old English.
Yeah.
How cool would it be to speak Proto-Germanic?
I mean, that's cool, but it's also kind of an insult to the language because, like, you never speak.
That's
like
true. It hasn't been proven. It's a hypothetical language.
Yeah.
Like the theory of it.
Right, but it's still. I don't know if it would be disrespectful or not. Maybe I guess you can make that argument, but cool nevertheless.
It's cool for like us today, but like if I don't know, like 1,000 years from now, people would speak the language that I would speak. Like I don't know how to explain this, but like it is a bit of an insult to the communities that did speak Proto-Germanic.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like an investigative tool now, I think, because those communities aren't here now, but it's like, okay, what's the best we can do to
but in terms of reviving languages that have gone extinct, that would be the way to do it if there's no literature or no signs of those languages.
Should revived languages be spoken or
I don't know when. I don't know.
Yeah,
that goes into my argument before about it being sad that languages have gone extinct.
The disappearance of
languages.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like, most languages are oral. Like the written word applies to, like, there's like the main languages, but like lots of communities that only have like 5,000 speakers, and I think this is goes back to the part of the resourcing. Like it's an oral tradition, right? So you need recordings, you need just transcribe that somehow. Like it's so this Old Norse then, like, are there like for the text, like there's lots of text, right? Old Norse,
there's a lot of rune script.
Okay.
You know what that is?
No.
That's what they basically erected these stones that they carved these rune scripts into. It's pretty cool. In Sweden, you can see them everywhere.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to kill the party, but like it's because of people like us who settle on unceded territory that languages go extinct. But
you're not wrong.
Well,
yeah, technically, but the in terms of like the Swedes are direct derivatives of.
Yeah, you are the
Vikings, right?
Yeah. Those are your ancestors. Yeah.
That's more of a North American. But the North American obviously it's still Europeans that screwed it up.
Yeah.
In part.
But imagine. But this guy Todd, the guy who gave the presentation, he seemed to be able to speak Old Norse to some extent.
Okay. Yeah, like so. As you said, you're doing spoken Latin right now.
Yeah.
And then how are you finding like A1, A2, or like? What are you using for resources like with Latin? Because I've seen there's lots of podcasts of spoken Latin.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of podcasts. There's like news podcasts. There's this thing called I don't have the name right now, but like the greatest resource is called Familia Romana. Maybe you've heard of it.
Maybe.
It's like this chapter by chapter they introduce new cases, but you always just speak it. So it's really easy to learn.
But I just noticed something interesting. You said familiar roman. So in Latin, does the French R exist? Like the
no.
So I don't know. In like I just use an Italian accent in Latin and like it sounds right to me. But there's so many theories on how Latin was spoken, and there's like the church one, and like the Italian one where they say sh with C's, and then there's the other one, which they use k to say C's.
Okay.
So there's no right answer, but
yeah, there's vulgar Latin, and what's the more formal one called?
not sure.
Classical.
Yeah, classical.
Classical versus
Okay,
vulgar.
but Marcus, what's vulgar Latin? If people,
Vulgar
because I didn't
Latin-
know this until I started reading about the history of Spanish.
I don't really know,
Oh,
but vulgar Latin is what later turned into these branches like Spanish.
Vulgar Latin is like
Street Latin.
Street Latin. Street Latin.
Yeah.
Latin. Or like the Latin that they
De la
spoke
calle.
that they spoke in the colonies, right?
Yeah, and then they just like, because I've dabbled in a little bit of classical Latin and the cases, right? So the case, like your noun cases, like German and the Slavic languages, which in vulgar Latin they just like did away with eventually at one point, because that's why word order isn't so important in Latin, right? Because as long as you have the your declension right for your nominative, accusative, genitive case, then you can put which is why like Slavic languages have like incredibly flexible word order as well, because you just got to hear that declension. You're like, oh, okay, this is this part of the sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you people more declension people or article people?
Oh, this goes back to what we were talking about with on the last show, like like articles or cases.
I mean, or you can have like German that's just like doing its own thing. But
Yeah.
You know what? I like.
What are you, Cody?
Yeah. So Chinese doesn't have any articles, and same with Korean. And
Correct.
I'm really liking it. I'm really really
gonna
enjoying
lie,
it. I'm like, the more I get into it, I'm like, oh, like screw articles. Like,
yeah. Like, because even teaching like this past couple weeks in my one Spanish class, been teaching adjectives. So it's like, all right, like feminine usually ends with an O, masculine. Masculine ends with an O, feminine ends with an A, but there's like these little exceptions, right? And like, you just do away with all this kind of thing, right?
yeah.
But that said, declensions cases, like Ukrainian first year sucked because of those, because I did not understand what was happening. But that might go back to like why it's important to learn something like Latin or learn what cases are and how they function in a sentence. So I think just even some preliminary grammar knowledge in school would help with that.
Yeah, and like regarding cases, I think when you first start learning them, it's kind of a nightmare. But once you get used to it, like it's really helpful and it's really useful.
Oh yeah, like the usage of them. Yeah. Like because you know exactly like this is the direct object or this is for possession, etc.
I mean, I think when you're starting with cases, it's in like I did not understand it all cases, and that's why German took so much time.
Yeah.
But like when I started learning Polish, I just sort of like learned to speak it before grammar, and then that's where I was like able to make sense of them. So I don't know, when you're, or like vice versa, if you know cases and then you're learning a more article based language, then I think it's easier if you learn to speak it.
So you guys want to know something interesting? Wait, you guys can hear me, right? Yeah, cool. So in Swedish and these Scandinavian languages, Norse languages, the definite article is tacked on to the end of the noun.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Katt is cat. The cat is katten, but you say it as one word. So katten.
That's cool.
Isn't like
that is cool, yeah.
What's woman kvinna in Swedish?
Kvinna? How do you know that?
I'm a dabbler, dude.
I love it, man. I love it.
That like kvinnan, right? Like
kvinnan. So there's two different cases, or two different cases. There's an and n. And mannen, that's the man. Mannen. Yeah. Kvinnan. So there's two different cases, right?
Yeah. And do you guys know the Romance language that does this as well?
Romanian, obviously, because that's the only one I don't know. That's the only one. Yeah. That's the only one I don't know.
Chifac. Romanians. Yeah, it's Romanian. But it's like fun too. It's like, it's like a new take on Romance languages. Let's put these articles at the end.
Go ahead, Esther.
do you understand Romanian? Because like I started listening to news in Romanian and I could understand, but it's not like Spanish. Like, because when I learned Spanish, I knew Italian, but like when I learned tried to learn Romanian, I was like, this is not the same.
No.
So there are really good videos on YouTube. I don't remember what they're called, but they basically put all these Romance language speakers together, and they all speak their own languages, and they try to have a conversation and understand each other. And it's really interesting.
For Romance languages?
For Romance languages. And it's always super confusing when the Romanian comes in.
Yeah.
But I love watching those videos. And I was going to say as well, I watched one of the Italian talks as well with Italian subtitles. And then on the side, I have like Google Translate, and I like translate all the words that I don't know. And I understood a good amount. A really good amount I've never even dabbled with Italian. It's not like Portuguese. So, but Romanian is something different. Every time I try to understand Romanian, it's hard.
Like it's got structural similarities. Because when I was in Nicaragua 10 years ago, the dude I was with volunteering at the coffee plantation, he was Romanian. Like he lived in Toronto, but from Romanian. Like he was picking up Spanish 5 times faster than me, I'd argue, because that Romance language, that cheat code kind of talked about, where
scaffolding,
like because Romanian scaffolding, like someone would say something and Alex would know, and I'd be like, what? like so it's man, and he didn't study any Spanish before going on that trip, so it's a peculiar one though, because it's like, well, you just look geographically, right? That it just explains why it's so different, just being like an Eastern European Romance language. So
it's strange. It's strange, but it's obviously called Romania for
yeah. And I don't even know all the history, too. But
I me neither. But I can only imagine.
Okay. I mean, so if you want to start a Romanian challenge, I'm down.
Oh, Esther's down. Romanian.
Sounds like a challenge. Maybe one day, not within the next year for me, probably. I got.
I'd be yeah. Come the new year, I'll be.
Okay, we'll see. Let's revisit this in January.
1st of January, yeah. Okay, I'll spam you guys on the 1st of January.
What have you done a challenge before? Because me and you actually were chatting about like even a one earlier this year, and what's your experience with like a challenge? Kind of like me and Cody did our Korean one.
So like anytime there's a like other human, then I'll be motivated. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I just had like 3 jobs going, so it was a lot.
No. But, life is busy. Yeah.
But it works sometimes. It's just like way more motivation, and if everyone's like if it's a competition, it's going to be so much easier, I think. So.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah, that's what I found with Korean. That was so cool doing that with Ian.
If you watch our latest promo video of the Lingaholics podcast, you get to see the moment when Cody won the Korean War.
1 point.
한국어.
Yeah.
1 point. 1 point. It was very close. But that reaction was priceless.
Wait, it was you, Ian, who's learning Korean, or who was
Cody and I.
Yeah, these two.
Cody and I, yeah.
Marcus, you're not learning Korean?
Nope, not yet. Well, I can speak some. I can speak. I took the Michel Thomas.
Did you watch it?
No. Yes, I did the Michel Thomas Korean.
Okay.
Korean.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't ventured off into the Asian languages yet. I'm not there yet. I'm currently focusing on my Romance and German, my Indo-European languages. But one day, perhaps.
But so on that Indo-European, would you learn Old Norse?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a busy man. I don't know.
We're all busy.
Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps we'll see. Right now, I'm mostly focused on Spanish and Catalan, and then come the new year, French, Portuguese, probably German. I need to reboot my German as well.
Yeah, don't forget Romanian.
And Romanian.
Romanian
with you, Esther.
This goes back to like where Cody, you were slightly more anti-dabbling at like the start, like a few months ago. This is where I think that argument's valid, because one's focus, one's bandwidth is only so much.
Yeah, and even
It's
though
a balancing act. It's a balancing act.
Yeah, even though I have like warmed up to dabbling a bit, I still am more on that side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I've been, because I get these what do you call them? I guess
Urges
of motivation to like just start with another language. Like when I was doing these Michel Thomas taster lessons, I was like, oh my god, like I want to start learning Japanese. But after like that kind of subsided, I was like, wait a minute, like I just
reel it in.
And how much like time and energy I'm pouring into Korean right now. I'm like, oh, do I want to take on like that much more? I guess that much more what do you call it? Like, I guess resources that I'd have to like put that time and energy into. I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, but to defend dabble, like it's like it's not just language. Like you associate it to a person, right? So it's not like you're talking to different people. Like it's not. Anyway, that's what I.
Yeah, it depends on the way you view it. And traditionally, that's the way that I've seen language more in the past, is like more the language side than the culture. And I think that's something that I'm like starting to change. I'm starting to definitely warm up to getting used to the culture and learning about that stuff instead of just purely the mechanics and vocabulary and stuff like that.
Well, for me, it's like, okay, so like in the lab right now, we have a guy from Brazil. And obviously, when I heard that we were gonna get a guy from Brazil, I just downloaded the latest Pimsleur.
Right. Yeah.
And just like started learning Portuguese, because I had like, when I saw him, I had to say something in Portuguese. Like obviously, it would be pathetic if I didn't. And it was like when I started learning French, I went to Quebec once, and then I couldn't communicate with the people there, and I felt so pathetic. It was like, I'm here and I like, I have to communicate in English. Like this is not going to work. I have to, next time I go to Quebec, I have to be able to speak French.
And you want to speak Québécois, or you want to speak French?
Québécois.
Québécois, bien sûr.
Je ben chant, tabarnak.
Perfect.
Yeah. Québécois. Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously though, it's I've said this before on the pod. If I go somewhere, I have to at least try.
Yeah, man, I know
at least try to speak the language.
I had that same feeling when I went to Thailand, and I just like speak any Thai. And I was like, oh my god, like it's just
like I would not want to go to Thailand without speaking at least a little bit of Thai. You know?
Yeah.
That would feel fake.
I mean, I think it's also political, where like you don't go, like we have the privilege to be mobile and to visit, to go places. So like, I think it's not even like just for us that we want to learn that language. Like it's just like what we have to do.
So you're saying it's a moral obligation to learn the language where you're going?
Well, it's yeah, of course it's a moral obligation, but it's also just like being aware politically that like you're mobile while the people you're visiting are maybe like they can't even survive because of gentrification that you're creating in that city, for instance.
Well, you know the classic like American attitude when they travel all over the world and like, hey, speak English to me.
Where's the goddamn service?
Yeah,
like even in like Italy, you have like a really like American, like I knew so many people, like Americans, who are learning Italian, and they had this like heavy American accent, which is, it's fine if you're just trying, it's fine.
Yeah, it's the respect. I completely agree. It's the respect of putting in the effort.
But just speaking of like mobility, like Gareth Popkins, he's one of these speakers. He didn't speak at this event, but he spoke at, when I saw him in Bratislava, he made that exact point of like, look, like we all had the resources and the funds to travel here to Bratislava, but it's like there's so many people out there that would totally fit this bill of polyglots that don't have the means, right, to go. And it's like, always be thinking about like on a global scale. So like I do. That's why I appreciate this Polyglot conference, because until this year, obviously, it was moving around to different locations. So I think it was trying to make like accessibility more and more. But even the philosophy this year, like you just had to donate, like to get the pass to go in. And I think even then you didn't, if you told them that you couldn't donate, they'd still let you in, kind of thing. So it's doing more and more to make things like this accessible, so you don't have to be like jet setting everywhere. But
yeah, on accessibility. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
no, you're our guest. Yeah,
you're supposed
you're
to
the floor. You're the one supposed to talk the most.
But yeah, on accessibility, what did you think about the access in general and like the donation base of the conference?
Yeah, like I'm sure, like shout out Richard Simcott, like fantastic organizer. Like I'm not sure what all the costs were to run this year's event. Like they obviously had tech guys setting up the site and the organization. So I don't even know what the normal fee is for like a normal Polyglot conference. So
I think the student rate is maybe like €100, maybe less,
dollars. Yeah,
which is like a lot of money. Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Well, compared to research conferences, it's like $600.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
no. Yeah. Like, yeah. Other academic things.
Yeah.
Gonna rack up fast. Yeah. Even like teacher PD stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is
very expensive.
I mean, but I just think like, and Simcott keeps on, Richard Simcott speaks on there. He like that's everything he wants to do with languages is make it accessible, or how I understand it anyway.
Yeah.
But like that's like we were talking about with Mac on the last podcast, like how anyone now with access to internet can learn languages.
Right.
And with, I don't know if you guys have been following the latest development here with SpaceX's Starlink, where you're going to get global internet. So like all these, there's still huge portions of the planet that don't have internet.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's because access to the internet.
And talking about privilege, like we take the internet for granted, but it doesn't exist in all these countries. So imagine when all these people come online and like with language learning, what that's gonna do for the polyglot community.
Right. Did you guys follow the wiki? There was a short one. It was called Wiki Tongues. They're trying to like document all the languages of the world right now. So
yeah, it was a very, very short one, and they just reached out. Basically said, if you speak a minority language, a small language, reach out and we'll give you a platform.
Totally right. So imagine if everyone got the internet, they'd probably get more calls, right? So
Starlink, man.
It wouldn't be just all English speakers. It'd be wild.
Pardon me?
It wouldn't just be all English speakers. It'd be wild.
Yeah, on the internet. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna go crazy. Then I don't know what's gonna happen. But anyway, cool nevertheless for the language community.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, like it was. Yeah, I still like. There's so many talks. I hope they keep the talks up for a bit here still, because like I've only worked through so many here, right?
Yeah, I basically go through. So to me, it's very if it's a good speaker, I'll listen to anything basically. So I just went through them all, and then as soon as I found someone that you could tell immediately that it was a good speaker, like an engaged speaker, and was really passionate about what he or she was talking about, I essentially watched it. And a lot of these Michel Thomas dabbling videos were like that oftentimes. So very, very good. Very, very good.
I just feel that like I think that it played into part like the donation, and like that you didn't feel like you had to go, and also that it wasn't live. Like like when you went into like the moon room or whatever, like there was almost no one, or like
Cody tried that one night, didn't we?
Experience.
Yeah, like the socializing part is
well. So the videos were on YouTube anyway, so you didn't have to pay to see them.
No, well, it was
in the room though, dude. Like the Saturn room.
You can just go on YouTube. Like you have to go through the website. Like it's.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Unlisted or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So.
But anyway, like, do you think if it hadn't been Like, do you think if it had been live, you would have been like at the Polyglot Gathering, like waking up at 2 a.m. and just like intensely doing this for 10 days?
No.
No, like like maybe on the weekends could have. Yeah, it might have been, but like working now, like I was lucky. I mean, school was all online at the time we did the Polyglot Gathering, so did have that flexibility. But yeah, no, I do like, because Richard gave his whole rationale, like this is gonna be like a Netflix style, like so there isn't that pressure to like wake up at whatever godforsaken an hour. So I mean, that was kind of the trade-off though, because then you didn't get some of that like live energy of everyone like sharing the moment together.
Yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, pasa lo que pasa, it was what it was, kind of thing.
Pasa lo que pasa.
Yeah, but it was more like going on Twitter a bit, reading comments about. I think that was maybe more of like my interaction part this time around. It wasn't like the live language rooms, so that'd be it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's more accessible, but like I really missed just like being pumped up because it's 4 a.m. and like,
I know, yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That
was kind of fun. That was kind of fun.
But
hey, I'm excited to do this live in person.
Oh my god, yeah.
Next year. Next year.
Yeah, man.
Not sure.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Maybe.
I think all three of us are fairly optimistic, and I think next year we'll be good to do it.
Boys, Cholula 20, because usually like at the end they have the big reveal. Where is it going to next year? The Polyglot Conference.
They're doing Cholula again, you think?
No, they are. Yeah, no. That's already been
so
like
Cholula. That's
guaranteed.
next. Yeah, I looked that up. It's right next to Puebla. So it's in the middle.
Yeah. I think because I remember I was looking up I had all the information. Like I was looking up flights to Mexico City, how I'd get down there.
It's cheap. Cheap to fly.
Yeah,
to Mexico.
man. I had it planned, so it's still planned for next year.
We got to go visit Luis's family in Chiapas.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, dude, we got places to go in Mexico. Imagine Lingaholics.
The Lingaholics.
But you're gonna give a conference, right?
Pardon me?
You're gonna give a talk, right?
Oh, I would love to give a talk.
What would you give a talk?
What would you do? What would you do your talk on?
Dude, podcasting. Or like the power of podcasting. And I'll be like, I learned languages. I learned languages through podcasting.
And like
I'm just some dude with a freaking regular job that doesn't have to do with, because a lot of these people work. The thing is, a lot of these people work with languages. They're linguists or they teach or whatever. I'm just some regular dude that loves languages. You know, so I'm just gonna like, hey.
I think that's most people. I don't want to kill your vibe, but
no, but the people that give talks.
Yeah.
It's definitely most people.
Oh, the talks.
Few people work with it, but the people that give talks are oftentimes linguists, professors, or teachers. Or I feel like I would want to give language learning from like a casual, regular person's perspective, plus with the whole podcast thing and everything. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I feel like I have a lot of good energy to share.
But it'd be cool, like a panel, like the three of you with someone else or something.
That would be sick too. Maybe we could have like a little like podcast episode, you know, live.
Yeah.
Like we live get a couple more views before we do that.
Oh yeah, dude, we got a year. Come on, man.
Yeah, we got a year. Come on, man. We'll see. And that with that promo video,
dude,
we
got a promo video. Yeah. No. So Marcus, you do a talk on podcasting then?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm just spitballing. I'm just spitballing right now. Cody, would you ever give one?
I think Esther's suggestion is nice. If we did like a panel with the three of us, that would be pretty cool. I don't know if I would give one alone, but like it's not because I'm afraid of public speaking. I've actually done public speaking. I've been pretty good at it, but I don't know what I would talk about.
You'd find something, man. You're an interesting person.
Like I remember after Langfest, I was so inspired like last summer in Montreal, where I met Azrin, and I'm just trying to find. I was on the plane, and I just started making a list of like all the fun stuff I'd like to talk about one day. And yeah, man, like mosquito is a language in Nicaragua. Like I feel like a little niche thing I could nerd out about, and like I forget. I have the list somewhere, like on all types of topics, man. Like that's the beauty of these conferences. Like you just kind of pick your topic and then go from there. Like geek out on it and go with the niche. So, but yeah, panel would be fun. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do think you're all individually interesting, but it would be
Well, thank you.
Combined forces.
no, but like there's like an energy like in your podcast of the three of you. So I think it like a panel would be good.
I would love it, man.
Oh, yeah.
I would love a live Lingaholics podcast panel.
Live podcasts are fun, man. Like,
Yeah, and we'd
I
record
love
it too, and
hearing
then
the
upload it and
audience and yeah. Oh well. Richard Simcott, the call for papers, he always says, like, we have the call for papers for the
It's so funny because it's just like a research conference, like the call for papers and everything. You have to.
Yeah. And this conference is arguably the most academic of them all, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I think the Edinburgh one was, was a lot.
The language event, right? They called that.
Yeah.
One? Right.
I mean, I really appreciate more academic based things, but I understand it's not for everyone.
So did you guys watch the academic talks?
Like the science one was
there were
really
two
academic.
The Xavier Funk and
I watched the maintaining languages one.
No, but I watched the gnarly Golestani.
Okay.
It was kind of overlap. She kind of talked about the stuff that Xavier talked about as well, but the basically the MRI studies where they take polyglots and monolinguals and they give them a bunch of linguistic tasks and then put them in an MRI and they look at their brains.
Yes. Yeah.
That
and
stuff.
how like a polyglot, there's actually not as much activity because the brain is so used to the languages, right?
There's not exactly. They don't have to use as much energy and not as much oxygen. Their brains don't have to use as much oxygen to be able to decipher new languages, essentially. Or unknown languages. But what I found really interesting is that the amount of academic literature in polyglotism is essentially non-existent. It's very low. It's very, very low. So like longitudinal and epigenetical studies have not been conducted ever.
Yeah.
So there's a huge research gap here.
Yep.
That they were talking about. So a lot of these talks that essentially emphasize that there's this huge research gap and we're just starting right now to address it.
Sorry, this was in Funk's one? No.
Yes, that one and another one as well by Gnarly.
Yeah, I'll go look at that in the like 6 hours we have left. No, a little more.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the first video I watched because like that's the type of stuff that really interests.
And it was cool because that was a follow-up actually to his Polyglot Gathering talk.
I watched the one at the Gathering.
Yeah, so it's like the other way around. It's like because of the Polyglot Gathering, what can neuroscience tell us about polyglots? And this one was like, what can polyglots tell us about neuroscience? So he kind of flipped it.
So basically the question be answered is if polyglotism and aptitude to learn languages is something that you acquire or if there's a genetical predisposition for it. Yeah. And the hypothesis obviously is that there's a combination of both, like everything else, right? But it'd be interesting to actually see some experimental work being done on this.
Yeah. The data.
Maybe you should contact him and say like, do some research and then like do something at the next.
Follow up with it. Yeah.
Hey, they're conducting this stuff at MIT, so it's all the way up in the academic hierarchy.
Yeah, because at the end he's like, if you live near Boston, right?
If you live near Boston and you speak over 10 languages fluently, hit us up.
Okay. Yeah. So super interesting. But,
yes, very interesting. Do we have anything more we want to touch on? Esther, do you have anything more you want to touch
on? Just like, what did you think about the like chat rooms, like the Earth room and the Moon room?
It's disappointing.
Didn't go.
Yeah.
Really, but yeah, but like I said, like it was more of the talks. That was like that's what I took out mostly. The socials part was just more like online chatter.
I mean, I think also because it was so big, some people would go into rooms and there was no one, so they would just go out, and then there would just constantly
and
be
maybe
no
it'd be
one.
like the 10 days long part too.
Yeah.
Or it's like there's no urgency too. So but I think like there's like because Langfest was doing like all the like the game show part of it too. I guess we should give a shout out to Langfest too. It wasn't just the Polyglot Conference.
Montreal.
Yeah, and then Tetsu, I don't have kids, but he's always giving chats on like multilingual kids, which are pretty fascinating because his kids speak like 5 languages, which is like, whoa.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he basically he just gives like parenting tips on how to do that every conference. So yeah.
Were there any prizes we could win? Because I didn't see any of that. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, normally in like the gathering, there were prizes, right? On the online one, I don't know.
Yeah, like I know at Langfest there was prizes too. Like they were giving away Michel Thomas and stuff like that. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. It was for me. It was the talks. That was like the big thing to take away from this year's. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah, but I don't know. Any other final thoughts here, you guys?
I don't know, folks. We're pushing an hour and a half now. I feel like we've covered a lot.
I'm just gonna bring on a quick guest here.
A reoccurring guest.
We got a reoccurring guest, first reoccurring guest.
Lee, what's going on, dude?
How's it going, Lee?
Добрый день.
Привет. Привет. Как дела? Как дела?
Все хорошо зараз.
Хорошо.
Российскую мову.
Так, да.
Хорошо.
Yeah, boys. Fair enough. Saskatoon. Tak.
Sask.
So, Sasky.
Tasky.
Leary Michel. He's been here the whole time, folks.
Legend of Lingaholics legend.
You betcha. Yeah, so all right, so big thank you to Esther for coming on. Covered lots of ground, lots of topics, lots of subjects, and
thanks for having me.
So yeah, best of luck with the semester. And are you done exams?
Nope.
Damn. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
Universitaire. Sweet.
Molt bé d'acord.
All right, boys. Well, let's keep this language train rolling. Get that promo video out, and for anyone listening in, hope you had fun at the conference. If you didn't attend the conference, you usually put them out on YouTube throughout the year, the different talks. Even if you weren't a participant, technically, it's fun to watch. So, yeah.
All right. Hasta luego.
See you in January for Romania.
Yeah, Romanian.
Exactamente.
Romanian waits.
All right. Pod ends now.
Hey.